But, I always thought that in times of danger or in stress, I would utter some manly statement. And instead, when I got shot, I said, they got me. Oh, I'm embarrassed to admit it to this very day.
That brings us to getting shot on your way to Mardi Gras during the civil rights marches. Let's go through that one.
Well, at the time I wasn't political. Afterwards, yes. Then no. And three buddies of mine, we were in a fraternity. I know that's a little kind of outre these days, but we decided we'd go to Mardi Gras to party because they needed us, right? And
yeah, sure.
It was right during the Freedom Rider stage. But hey, you're young, you're immoral, right?
Right.
So we were driving down from the Midwest to New Orleans, and it was a nonstop trip because, hey, we had beer in the car and parties to go to. So we drove all night. And about 4 a.m. in Arkansas, right in the turnoff to Georgia, where Bull Connor set the dogs on the marchers.
Yes.
Car pulled us over, and we thought it was the cops because they had searchlights and stuff. And we all sat there for a while. We decided, well, let's slowly leave. And the minute our car moved, they nailed us. They shot me and shot a friend of mine.
Let me back up.
Yeah.
You realized that that it wasn't the cops at some point in that, and so you said to yourselves, "We got to get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
But they pulled you over like they had lights and everything else, like a legit cop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spotlights, the good old boy spotlights on the side of the car.
And who was it?
And well, we're pretty sure it was the Klan because we reported the sheriff. I never really saw him clearly. The last thing I saw was the car behind us, and you could see the gunfire, the flashes, muzzle flashes that were shooting at us. And so when you're Midwestern boys, what do? You report it to the cops, right?
Yeah.
So one cop shows up, takes us to the jail, makes a phone call. Jerry, I swear to God, this was the dialogue. Yeah, we got some boys here been shot up. Yeah. 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 So he pulls out his gun, he throws us in jail. And for the next week, we were treated to being told they were going to kill us and do stuff. And we finally got out of there when I lied to a new jailer trustee and got a phone call out. And it wasn't 20 minutes after it, Jerry, that all hell broke loose because the newspaper started calling this little jail. And to my amazement later, coming to the punchline here, the governor of Minnesota called this little jail and he said, "We know you've got our people down there, so they better not get hurt." Oh man, it was like stepping on an anthill, And they finally told us to get the hell out of there. And I found out that the president of our college had called the governor and then called this jail. And Jerry, it really bothered me. And I went to see him later, and I was just a kid, but I knew he'd taken a terrible risk because they were telling newspapers and stuff at first that we'd had a gun battle with police and we'd done all this stuff. And then they said we'd robbed somebody with a knife and they couldn't find a knife. And then they said we threatened somebody with a bottle. We had a lot of beer bottles in the car. So, Jerry, I couldn't argue with that one. So I went to see the president of our college, and I asked him, I said, "Listen, I think you saved our lives, but why did you do it? I mean, you took this risk." And I will tell you, I am embarrassed to this day to say, Jerry, that I expected him to say something like, "Well, you seemed like fine young men," or "You dated my daughter twice. What else could I do?"
Right.
And instead, he got up and he went to the window and is looking outside his dreary Minnesota day, And he started talking, and he told the story of the Nazis murdering his mother, who was senior contralto at the Frankfurt Opera, and they killed all his family. And he and his brothers were one brother, were the only ones who escaped. And he started to cry, and he said, "I swore to myself then that I would never stand by I would never, never, never stand by.
Wow.
And, yeah. And
So,
the only other thing out of the experience is, Jerry, if you want to pick up ladies in college, have a car with bullet holes in it. I mean, I'm telling you.
I got to flesh this out a little bit. You think that that it was Klan and they pulled you over because you were from Minnesota, out of town? What reason would there be, A, for them to come after you, and then B, what were the cops' problem with you?
Well, they were probably part of the whole thing. You know, Jerry, at the time, you know, the Freedom Rider era, that's when young white folk were going down to South to register black voters.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not take it well. It wasn't 3 months after we were there that they killed those 4 civil rights kids and buried them in a levee. Not terribly far from where we were. But, you know what, it's difficult maybe for some of us to comprehend who haven't been in that part of the country or grown up there. At the time, I'm not saying now, but at the time, the cultural ethos was such that people would do things like that and society would laud them. I mean, that's when they would publicly lynch people and do all kinds of stuff. So to answer your question, I mean, the cop who pulled his gun on us and threw us in jail, I don't know who he called, Jerry, but he called one of his cronies, and they probably told him, hey, 4 young white guys down here to help the blacks. You know, we don't tolerate that here. And pulled his gun,
you were just on your way down to have a good time, and not to try to elicit votes or any rest of that. Now, where'd you get shot?
Well, my friend got a dueling scar, a sable scar. So he looked like $1 million. I got shot in the nose. I mean, I had a bandage. I looked like, you know, Ronald McDonald.
Right.
And the other thing I'm embarrassed to tell you, so don't tell anybody, Jerry. But,
okay, I promise.
Okay, thank you. But, you know, I always thought that in times of danger or in stress, I would utter some manly statement. And instead, when I got shot, I said, they got me. Oh, I'm embarrassed to admit it to this very day.
That's what you got. They got you.
They got me. Like every bad black and white movie you've ever,
right.
You know, bury me deep, Clem. They got me.
It's all well and it's all fun and games until it happens to you, and then it's a very different world from that point.